So iPads and iPadOS 14, for however good it is for a productivity monster, it has a few limitations when you compare it to something like a desktop class operating system such as Windows. So in this video, I'm going to show you a few workarounds that I believe everybody should use to turn their iPads into productivity monsters or productivity machines. So the first one I want to cover is very important to me. It's a clipboard manager. So iPad is one of my favorite devices for writing. The only reason I do that is because iPads don't allow for multitasking to be super easy. So by default, iPads can only store one item on its clipboard. Combine that with the cumbersome app switching that I talked about before, this turns into an extremely annoying nightmare when you want to do research and writing at the same time. So you're basically switching between applications repeatedly just to make sure you capture all the data that you have reviewed. And to solve that problem, I would recommend that you use an application like AnyBuffer. AnyBuffer is an application that is a shelf application, so this can live on the slide overview when you're actually doing your research. As soon as you find something that you want to save, it could be a chunk of text, a URL, an image, a file, anything that you want to save, and you can press Ctrl-V on your keyboard to save whatever you have on your clipboard. And once you want to use this information, you can jump back to your writing application and you can quickly just drag whatever you have just saved into your writing application without any issues. All of this information will stay here for you to refer back to later on as well. You can even organize all the information in different folders. So one of the reasons that I started thinking of iPads as a computer replacement was the fact that Apple released the Magic Keyboard. And one of the things that jumped out to me from almost all reviews is there's no escape key. But that's something that we can solve, and it comes in very handy every time you stumble upon a dialog box that you don't want to see while you're writing or while you're typing something, while you're doing your research. You see something, you press escape, you're out of it. So let's go to our keyboard settings, and I'm going to use my caps lock key because that's just something I don't use very often, and turn it into an escape key. You can do that by going to General, I think Keyboards, and then Hardware Keyboards, and then you can remap your keys over here. Now let's talk about one of the best features of the iPadOS 14, which is Spotlight. So the updated Spotlight for iPadOS 14 brings a lot more relevant searches front and center in front of you. The worst part of the Spotlight functionality on iPadOS 14 is either you need to be on the home screen to access it, or you need a keyboard to access it from anywhere on the iPad. Whoever designed this should have known that this is a bad idea, right? Let's fix it. I don't have a pretty looking solution for this because it requires you to turn on assistive touch functionality on your iPad. You can do that by going to Settings, Accessibility, and then Touch. Here you can change what happens when you double tap this assistive touch thing that hovers over your screen. I changed mine, and now that allows me to pull up Spotlight even when I'm not using a hardware keyboard. So just like the rest of you, I watch a lot of YouTube on my iPad. And to be honest with you, it is kind of annoying that you need to have a premium subscription to watch YouTube or listen to YouTube in the background. But we can fix that with a simple shortcut. I have an entire video showing you how to do this. I will link that video right here, but if you don't really need that, I have the link to the shortcut in the description below. And if you had the Scriptable app downloaded and you have the shortcut, you can watch your YouTube videos in a floating window. This not only allows you to watch videos from YouTube in floating windows, and you can hide the floating window to just listen to the video, you also skip all the ads. So this acts like an ad blocker for YouTube alone. Okay, let's talk about this. So Apple Mail sucks. Everybody knows that, right? I mean, it's a good application for an iPhone, but for a desktop class application on a big screen, with iPadOS 14, you can change that. You can switch your default mail client from Mail to something else. And I recommend using Spark and Spike. These are two applications that are completely different from each other, so let's talk about Spark first. Spark Mail is one of the most feature-rich email clients that are available on the iPad for free. It offers all the traditional email functionalities and features with multiple accounts, unified inbox, a great smart filtering system, signatures for each account, and whatever else you expect from an email client. What separates it from others is that it allows you to share your email as links with other people that are not on the email chain. You can export an email as a task to Todoist or one of the other third-party applications that it supports. You can also save your email as a PDF file. You can even customize the toolbar that shows up on the bottom of your screen. Simply one of the best applications to manage your emails. On the other hand, I have Spike, which is basically a very simple application that converts your emails into a chat-like interface. I primarily use Spike for emails where there's going to be some back and forth, and it's not going to be just one email and it's done. So how it works for me is I will get a notification for an email from Spark because I have all my notifications for Spike turned off. And if that's an email that does not require me to interact with it, I will jump to Spark and do whatever needs to be done with it. But if it's an email where I need to respond and kind of wait for their response really quickly, I will jump to Spike and continue the email conversation in Spike. Let's talk about recent applications on your dock. It might be unique to me because I have a 10.5-inch iPad Air from 2019, unlike a lot of people that are using 12.9-inch iPads. But I honestly think those 3 applications that sit on the right side of your dock are just a waste of space, especially because you can have applications that you actually use on the right side. So let's disable that. Go to Settings, Home Screen and Dock, and disable Show Suggested and Recent Applications. Now you can put more of your most used applications in the dock and be intentional with it. And if you're wondering how am I gonna put applications that I was recently using into a split screen if I really wanted to, well, for that you have Spotlight. We just showed you how to use Spotlight when you don't have a keyboard attached. So double tap on your assistive touch menu and you should be able to search for the application you're looking for, drag that out of the search results and place it wherever you want to place it on your window, in a split screen view, in a full screen view, or as a slide overview. So as someone who moved from Android to iOS primarily for iOS shortcuts and automations, I can't really complain about automations a whole lot. But there's this one thing that I hate about automations on iOS and iPadOS, and that is notifications. Well, in that case, we can now turn off notifications for shortcuts. It's not as simple as turning off notifications for rest of your applications, which I highly recommend. Please turn off badges. This is a productivity monster. You don't want those red dots on each one of your applications taking away your attention. Anyways, moving back to the shortcuts notification, go to Settings, go to Screen Time, and here you should see an option to access all your activity. If you scroll down to the very bottom on your activity, you should be able to see the recent notifications. If you have gotten notifications recently from shortcuts, you should be able to tap on it. And if you're unable to tap on it to expand it, move from a week view to a day view or something else. Just move things around and you should be able to access shortcut in an expanded form. Here, you can turn off notifications for shortcuts entirely. I will highly recommend that you turn off notifications for at least the notification center, so even if you see the notification, it just doesn't live there and gets really annoying. While we're talking about notifications, let's also talk about notification grouping. This is something that should have been enabled by default, but it's not, so let's do it now. So if you have an application that sends you a lot of notifications, you want to probably group those together. So go to the notification settings for that application and scroll down to grouping. And here you can change that from automatic to by app. Now all the notifications from this app will show up as a stack on a notification center and it won't take a ton of space and just annoy the heck out of you. There are other things that you want to do on your computer that an iPad cannot do. In those cases, you switch to something like a desktop, you switch to something like a laptop. That puts me in a situation when I actually need my iPad is dying or is already dead. And that's not fun. So let's set up an automation that will send you a notification on your phone when your iPad goes below a certain battery level. This will make sure your iPad almost never dies and you put it to charge before it is dead. So in order to set that up, you would need an application called Pushcut on your iPhone and on your iPad. In Pushcut, you want to create a notification that informs you that your iPad is dead. That is a simple task that can be done easily. Moving on, you need to set up an automation in the Shortcuts application. So go to the automation section of your Shortcuts, create a new automation based on battery level, and if it goes below 10%. Now you want to create an action to send a notification using Pushcut to your iPhone device to find the name of your iPhone and make sure that is selected as the device that notification is sent to. And click next and turn off ask before running option. So we'll send you a notification automatically. Now that you are set up with this iPad will send you a notification when the battery goes below 10%, so you can search for the iPad, put it on charge, and it will be ready for you to use when you want to use your iPad next. Well, that's all I have for you today. If this video helped you in any way possible, please hit the like button. And if you want more videos like these, I have a playlist for the iPad videos that I've made if you want to check those out. And if you like some of those videos, you might want to consider subscribing. And you're still watching this video, thank you. You were probably one of those 10% of the people that stick to the very end of a video, and I really love you for that. Thanks again for watching. This is Geet.